Hello, people. Today we will take a look at your nephrons. Okay, your nephrons, these are accordingly regarded as the functional unit of the kidney. Nephron, that is the functional unit of the kidneys. And yes, the nephrons of the kidneys are densely packed so that the connective tissue stroma of the kidney is scant, meaning you have more of what you call, there is a densely packed, they are closely packed nephrons, meaning you have more nephrons than a connective tissue stroma. And yes, your nephron is epithelial in nature. Again, if you try to remember when we talked about your epithelium, if there is an epithelium, there is an underlying basal lamina. Again, if there is an epithelium, there is an underlying basal lamina. And yes, with that, your your nephron here is separated from the connective tissue stroma by an intervening basal lamina. Okay, and yes, much of the connective tissue or connective tissue stroma of the kidneys is occupied by a rich vascular supply of the kidney. Okay, please note again that there is a very rich vascular supply or blood supply of to the kidneys. Okay, there is a very rich vascular supply in the kidneys accordingly. Okay, your nephron is subdivided into two parts. You have your renal corpuscle and then your renal tubule. Your renal corpuscle, accordingly, at the beginning of each nephron, you have that renal corpuscle. Okay, your renal corpuscle is made of a capillary tuft or your glomerulus is what you call, and then a Bowman's capsule that surrounds the capillaries. Your renal corpuscle is 200 micrometers in diameter. Again, and it contains a tuft of capillaries, or this tuft of capillaries is known as glomerulus. And this glomerulus is surrounded by a double-walled epithelial capsule that is called as your Bowman's capsule or your glomerular capsule. Okay? And each renal corpuscle, it has a vascular pole. You have a vascular pole that is where the afferent arteriole enters and the afferent arteriole leaves. Okay, there is in each renal corpuscle, you have a vascular pole. Okay, wherein the afferent arteriole enters and the efferent arteriole exits. And there is also a tubular pole. There is also a tubular pole where your proximal convoluted tubule, that is part of your renal tubules, is present, or where your renal tubules arises. Okay, and so you have your vascular pole and your tubular pole. Okay, times or sometimes this tubular pole is sometimes called as urinary pole. Okay, and your renal tubules, you have here your proximal convoluted tubule, and then you have your loop of Henle, and then you have your distal convoluted tubule, and then you have your collecting tubule accordingly. This one actually is an illustration of your nephron. Okay, this one is a nephron. Please note that this is the cortex, this is the medulla, this is the area cribrosa. This is your area cribrosa of the renal papilla. Area cribrosa of the renal papilla. This is the cortex, this is the medulla. Okay, this is the cortex. Sorry, this is the cortex. This is the medulla. Your renal corpuscle comprises of your Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus. Okay, the red one is the glomerulus, and then the yellow one is the Bowman's capsule. Then, of course, you have here your renal tubules. Your renal tubules will start from your proximal convoluted tubule, going to your loop of Henle, and then your distal convoluted tubule, which will join your which will join your collecting ducts. Okay, Usually, please note that from your what do you call this, from your loop of Henle, your loop of Henle is located in the medulla. Your loop of Henle is located in the medulla. And then your PCT and then the glomerulus or the renal corpuscle together with the proximal convoluted tubule, usually they are located in the distal, I mean in the cortex of the kidney. Okay, accordingly, your what you call this, your proximal convoluted tubule, they occupy most of your cortex. Okay, they occupy most of the cortex. Okay, this is accordingly your area cribrosa of your renal papilla. Okay, actually is an illustration of a renal corpuscle. It is a renal corpuscle. You have here your glomerulus. You have, yeah, the glomerulus and then the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule. Your vascular pole, this is your vascular pole. Sabi natin earlier, your vascular pole, that is the region where your where the vessels supplying and draining the glomerulus enter and exit the Bowman's space or the Bowman's capsule. Okay, and then you have the urinary pole, your urinary pole here, that is the region of continuation between the renal corpuscle and the proximal convoluted tubule, which of course drains the Bowman's space. This is your urinary pole. This portion is your urinary pole, and then your or otherwise known as tubular pole accordingly. Please note that the connective tissue component of the afferent arteriole does not enter the Bowman's capsule. Please note it does not enter the Bowman's capsule. Please take a look at this one. Okay, and the normal connective tissue cells are replaced by a specialized cell. Okay, again, the connective tissue component of the afferent arteriole do not enter the Bowman space. Take a look at this. Okay, they do not enter the Bowman space. Instead, they are replaced by specialized cell known as your mesangial cells. Okay, so this ones, the cells here already, they are mesangial cells. Okay, glomerulus. Okay, your glomerulus, it is a tuft of capillaries. It is a tuft of capillaries, please note, or simply capillaries. And yes, your glomerulus, it is somewhat pushed through it is pushed through your, what do you call this? It is pushed through your Bowman's capsule. Okay, imagine this is your glomerulus and this is your Bowman's capsule. You push that through to what do you call this? Yes, you push that to enter your Bowman's capsule. Okay, so ending ganito na po ang itsura. Okay, your glomerulus, since sabi natin it is a capillary. If you try to remember, you have three types of capillaries. Pag-usapan po natin when you talk about your uh, vascular, your blood vessels. You have three types. You have continuous, discontinuous, and fenestrated. And yes, your glomerulus is a fenestrated type of capillaries. The endothelial cells present, the endothelium that lines your glomerulus are fenestrated in nature. And yes, since it is an epithelium or an endothelium, there is a basement membrane. The basement membrane of your glomerulus is thick. Okay, it is thick. The glomerular basement membrane is thick, and it is 300 to 360 nanometers in thickness. Okay, they form accordingly the thickest filtration barrier between the blood and the capsular space. Okay, there is a thick basement membrane. Okay, let's take a look. There are actually components of your glomerular basement membrane. You have a laminin and fibronectin that bind the integrins of both the podocyte and endothelial cell membranes. There is also a meshwork of cross-linked type 4 collagen, and there are large proteoglycans present. All of this, they function to restrict the passage of proteins larger than 70 kilodaltons. Again, present in your GBM, you have laminin and fibronectin that bind integrins, okay, of both your podocyte and endothelial cell membrane. And then there is also a meshwork of cross-linked type 4 collagen and also a large proteoglycans. Also, present in your GBM are what they call this polyanionic glycosaminoglycans. Your polyanionic glycosaminoglycans present in the glomerular basement membrane are numerous. Okay, and yes, this polyanionic glycosaminoglycans present in the GBM, they have negative charges. They have negative charges accordingly. They have negative charges. And yes, your glomerulus, this is the site of initial filtration of blood arriving by the afferent arterioles. Again, glomerulus, that is the site of initial filtration of blood arriving by the arterioles. Okay? And as part of your, I mean, in your GBM, the, what you call this, uh, your polyanionic glycosaminoglycans that are abundant in your GBM and they possess a negative charge, they tend to restrict filtration of organic anions. While your laminin and fibronectin which binds integrins of both your podocyte and endothelial cell membranes, as well as the meshwork of cross-linked type 4 collagen and large proteoglycans, they restrict passage of proteins larger than 70 kilodaltons. Okay, since sabi natin your glomerulus, it is a filter or it is a sieve. Okay, the function of your glomerulus is to filter the plasma. Okay. Your glomerulus, I mean, the glomerular basement membrane also degrades smaller proteins that are filtered out. It degrades smaller proteins that are filtered out from the plasma, while the amino acids are reabsorbed. The amino acids that escape the blood or that are filtered out, they are reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay? Capsule. Your Bowman's capsule here has a visceral and parietal layers. Your outer parietal layer is lined by simple squamous epithelium. And of course, there is an underlying basal lamina. Okay, and so ito po yun. This is your simple squamous epithelium, and then you have your underlying basal lamina. And then there is your inner visceral layer. There is an inner visceral layer which is lined by podocytes. Okay, the inner visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule is made of epithelial cells that are highly modified to perform a filtering function, and you call them as your podocytes. Your podocytes, they have a numerous long tentacle-like cytoplasmic extensions. Okay, they have long tentacle-like cytoplasmic extensions which are called as primary or major processes. These primary or major processes, they follow but do not come in close contact with the longitudinal axis of the glomerulus. Again, your primary or major processes, they follow the axis of your glomerular capillaries. And yes, each primary processes or each major processes of your podocytes, it bears many secondary processes. Okay, it gives rise to secondary processes, and you call these secondary processes as pedicels. Your pedicels, they are arranged in an orderly fashion. Okay, your pedicels, please note that these pedicels, they completely envelop most of your glomerular capillaries by interdigitating with pedicels from neighboring major processes. Okay, your pedicels, they completely encircle or envelop your glomerular capillaries by interdigitating with other pedicels of neighboring primary processes. Okay, and so yes, your your pedicels, this interdigitation with the other pedicels of neighboring uh, major processes, they will form your uh, filtration slits. Form your filtration slits. Okay, and so your podocytes, aside from giving rise to major processes, and these major processes will give rise to your pedicels, which in turn encircle your or envelop your glomerulus or your glomerular capillary that will form your filtration slits. Aside from that, your podocytes, they maintain the integrity of the endothelial cells, and also they prompt your endothelial cells to enter the cell cycle when the need arises. Okay, and so in your Bowman's capsule, it has two layers. Your inner visceral layer, which is in close contact. Okay, your inner visceral layer is in close contact with the glomerular basement membrane. It is in close contact with your glomerular basement membrane. Okay, and then you have your outer parietal layer that is again made of squamous epithelium and an underlying basal. Here actually an illustration of a podocyte. Okay, yes, you have here, of course, this is your glomerular capillary. This is a glomerular capillary. This is a glomerular capillary. This is your podocyte. Okay, your podocyte. This one again gives rise to major processes, and the major processes of your podocyte will give rise to your pedicels. Okay, and these pedicels, they accordingly envelop envelop your capillaries. Okay, let's take a look. You have here the lumen of the capillary. You have here your fenestrated endothelium. Your fenestrated endothelium, and then you have your glomerular basement membrane. GBM po ito, the blue-green colored one here. And then, yes, you have here your pedicels. You have the pedicels. Here, of course, you have the podocytes. This one, you have the nucleus of the podocyte. Okay, that is for your podocytes accordingly. Okay, you have here, let's take a look. This one shows you an what they call this. It shows you the close relationship between the fenestrated capillary, the glomerular basement membrane, and the filtration slits by the podocyte. Okay, this is your podocyte. This is your podocyte, which will give rise to major processes. These are your major or your primary processes, and these are your secondary processes, which are known as your pedicels. Okay, what do they do? They encircle the whole, the envelope, or they encircle the whole glomerular capillary. Okay, again, please take a look again. You have here your podocyte, and it will give rise to processes. They follow the longitudinal axis of your glomerular capillary. Okay, and yes, this major processes will give rise to your secondary processes, which is known as your pedicels. Okay, and these pedicels will they completely encircle or envelop your what they call this, your glomerular capillary. Okay, and yes, they completely encircle, they interdigitate with other pedicels of your other podocyte, or sorry, of your the other pedicels of your other processes. major processes forming your filtration slits. These are your filtration slits accordingly. Your filtration slits, this one is also important in the filtration process of the glomerulus. It is important in the filtration process of the glomerulus. Okay? You have here your mesangial cells. Your mesangial cells, please note that they are located at the vascular pole. Okay, your mesangial cells, they are located at the vascular pole. Okay, and so if you try to remember earlier, okay, because your your mesangial cells, they replace the connective tissue of your the connective tissue present in your afferent arteriole. Okay, and so moving inside the Bowman's capsule. Okay, your glomerular, your mesangial cells, they are located. There is actually two types, no, of your mesangial cells. You have two types. You have your extraglomerular mesangial cells, which are located at the vascular pole, and then you have your intraglomerular mesangial cells, which are situated within the renal corpuscle. You have your intraglomerular mesangial cells that are located within the renal corpuscle, and this glomerular mesangial cells are parasite-like. Okay, your mesangial cells, they have contractile properties and they produce components of your external lamina. And yes, okay, your mesangial cells, they comprise the mesangium. They comprise the mesangium. Okay, your mesangium, they fill the interstices between the capillaries that lack podocyte. Okay, they fill the spaces or interstices between the capillaries that lack podocyte. Again, please note that your mesangial cells, they are difficult to distinguish in routine sections from podocytes, but usually they stain more darkly. Okay, the surrounding matrix of your mesangium, again, the surrounding matrix of your mesangium, they fill the interstices between your podocytes. Okay, this one actually, let's take a look at this illustration. No, you have here your extra glomerular mesangial cells that are located at the vascular pole. Okay, and then yes, you have here your mesangial cells. Okay, they fill the interstices of the glomerulus wherein there is no podocytes, or there is not enough podocyte to fill the interstices. Okay, this is a mesangial cell, mesangial, and collectively you call them as the mesangium. Okay, what are the functions of your mesangium? They provide, of course, physical support to the capillaries within the glomerulus. And yes, your mesangium, adjusted contractions of the mesangium, since they are parasite-like, diba? Adjusted contractions of your mesangium will help maintain an optimal filtration rate in case there is a blood pressure changes. Okay? And then phagocytosis of protein aggregates adhering to the glomerular filter, including antigen antibody complexes. And then secretion of several cytokines, prostaglandins, and other factors that are important for immune defense and repair in the glomerulus. Those are the functions of your mesangium. Okay, your PCT, your proximal convoluted tubule. This one, it is a continuation of your Bowman's capsule. Okay, from your Bowman's capsule going to your proximal convoluted tubule. Your, uh, your proximal convoluted tubule has a convoluted and straight portion accordingly. It has a convoluted and straight portion. And yes, this one is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. It is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. And your PCT, it fills most of the cortex. Your proximal convoluted tubule fills most of the cortex. Okay? Your proximal convoluted tubule, the cells of your PCT are specialized for both reabsorption and secretion of substances. Okay? Because in this one, in the PCT, over half of the water and electrolytes and all of your organic nutrients like glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and other organic substances that are filtered from the plasma in the renal corpuscle are normally reabsorbed in the PCT. Okay, again, half of the water and electrolytes and all organic nutrients that has escaped the plasma during the filtration in your glomerular filtration, they are reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, the absorbed molecules are transferred directly across the tubular wall for immediate uptake in the plasma of the peritubular capillaries. Okay, the cells of your PCT, they have a centrally located nuclei. Okay, they have a centrally located nuclei and very acidophilic cytoplasm, very acidophilic cytoplasm with abundant mitochondria. Okay, the apex or the portion that is located at the lumen or the apex of your PCT cells have very long microvilli. They have very long microvilli that form a prominent brush border. So yes, cells of your PCT, they have brush border. Of course, this brush border is important or it facilitates reabsorption. And yes, your cells of the PCT, they have what we call this numerous pits and vesicles near the bases of the microvilli. These pits and vesicles near the bases of the microvilli, it indicates an active endocytosis and pinocytosis. Please note again that in your proximal convoluted tubule, most okay, and so it is highly active in reabsorption and secretion of substances accordingly. Your loop of Henle. Your loop of Henle, it is a U-shaped structure with a thin descending limb and a thin ascending limb. And this thin descending and ascending limb is made of a simple or it's lined by a simple squamous epithelium with few organelles. Okay, the cells they have few organelles, and then you have a thick ascending limb of or the straight portion of the distal tubule, which is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium with many mitochondria. The loop of Henle and the surrounding interstitial connective tissue, they are involved in further adjusting the salt content of the filtrate. Okay, cuboidal cells of the loop of Henle, of the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle actively transport sodium and chloride out of the tubule. Okay, out of the tubule, meaning it goes out into the interstitium. Okay, your cuboidal cells of the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle, they transport okay, they transport sodium and chloride outside of the tubule, going into the interstitium. Okay, going into the interstitium. Okay, since they are transporting out sodium and chloride, it makes the interstitium hyperosmotic. It makes the interstitium hyperosmotic. Please note to maintain balance in the concept of osmolarity, to maintain balance, ano po ang gagawin ng cell? Okay? Water or the solvent will move to the area of higher concentration to maintain balance. Okay, that is why in this area, since there is a hyperosmotic interstitium, this one will cause water to be withdrawn passively from the descending part of the loop, thereby concentrating the filtrate. Okay, again, since there is a hypersmotic interstitium outside of the loop of Henle, what will happen? Again, since there is hyperosmotic, what will your body do? Your water will move to the area of higher concentration to maintain balance. Okay, so water will move or will be withdrawn passively from the thin descending part of the loop. If water is removed, okay, if water is removed from the filtrate or from the fluid inside the loop of Henle, there it will concentrate, thereby the fluid left is concentrated. Okay? Okay, the thin ascending limb of loop of Henle, it reabsorbs sodium and chloride but are impermeable to water. They are impermeable to water accordingly. Okay, let's take a look at these. Let's compare the size of the tubules. Okay, you have here your proximal convoluted tubule, which is made of lined by simple cuboidal, your what do you call this one from your distal convoluted tubule, which is made of simple cuboidal, and then the thin ascending portion of the thin portion of your loop of Henle is made of simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. You have here your thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. It is made of simple cuboidal epithelium also. Distal convoluted tubule. Please note that your DCT, it has a straight portion and convoluted portion also. Same with your PCT. Your PCT and your DCT, both of them, they have a distal portion. They have a straight portion and convoluted portion. Okay? Your simple cuboidal cells of the distal convoluted tubule differ from the PCT because the cells in your DCT or your distal convoluted tubule, they are smaller and do not have brush border. They also have an empty lumen. They also have an empty cytoplasm somewhat. Unlike sa PCT that has that has an abundant cytoplasm and yes, they have a brush border. The cells in your DCT, they are flatter and smaller. That is why the nuclei, they are typically seen in sections accordingly. Okay? Your distal convoluted tubule cells, again, they are flatter and smaller than those of your PCT. Okay, cells of your distal convoluted tubule, they have fewer mitochondria also than the cells of PCT, making them less acidophilic. Okay, your DCT, this one, your distal convoluted tubule, please note that it is related with aldosterone because your aldosterone regulates the absorption of sodium ions in the distal convoluted tubule. Convoluted tubule, the straight part of the DCT contacts the afferent arteriole. Okay? And yes, That portion where it contacts the afferent arteriole, the cells on that portion becomes more columnar and are closely packed. And yes, collectively, you call those cells as the macula densa. Your macula densa, the cells of your macula densa, they have an apical nuclei, okay, a nuclei that is located at the apex, and then a basal Golgi complex, and a more elaborate and varied system of ion channels and transporters. Please note that your DCT, your distal convoluted tubule, is also impermeable to water and urea. It is impermeable to water and urea. However, in your DCT, the cells of your DCT, they have a high sodium potassium ATPase activity at the basolateral plasma lemma or plasma membrane. Again, at the basolateral plasma membrane of your cells of your macula densa, sorry, of your distal convoluted tubule, they have a high sodium potassium ATPase activity. Okay, they have high sodium potassium ATPase activity. Sabi ko kanina, your distal convoluted tubule is governed by or is, okay, that is the site of action, that is the target of your aldosterone. This time, since sabi natin kanina, you have high at the basolateral plasma membrane of the cells of your distal convoluted tubule, it has high sodium potassium ATPase activity that powers your sodium potassium exchange pumps. Okay? In response to your hormone aldosterone, the cells, okay, the cells will actively reabsorb most, almost all of the remaining sodium. And it will passively transport or absorb chloride from the lumen of the tubule into the renal interstitium. Okay? Of course, again, this one, your aldosterone will somewhat activate your sodium potassium ATPase. Okay? To resorb almost all of the remaining sodium from the filtrate. Your collecting tubule. Your collecting tubule, it is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. And there are two types accordingly. You have cortical and medullary collecting tubules. What does it do? This time, This time, at the collecting tubule, once the filtrate reaches your collecting tubule, it is already called as urine. Once the filtrate reaches the collecting duct, it is already called as urine. Okay? In your collecting tubule, more water is reabsorbed if needed by the body. Okay? And so, stimulated, of course, by the action of your arginine vasopressin. Okay? Your collecting tubule, of course, a connecting tubule extends from each nephron. It extends from each nephron, and several will join together in the cortical medullary race to form your collecting duct. In the medulla, this what do you call this? Yes, in the medulla, your collecting ducts will merge further, forming larger and straighter collecting ducts with increasingly columnar cells. And there is also an increasing overall diameter, reaching 200 micrometers. Approaching the apex of the renal pyramid, 'di ba? Approaching the apex of the renal pyramid, several medullary collecting ducts merge again to form each papillary duct, or you call it as your duct of Bellini, which then it will deliver the urine directly into the minor calyx. Okay, into the minor calyx. And then the urine is delivered to your major calyx and then to your renal pelvis. Collecting tubules, it is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay, but then you have two types of cells present. You have your principal cells and your intercalated cells. Your principal cells, they have an oval, centrally located nuclei and a few small mitochondria with a short sparse microvilli. Okay, and yes, the basal membranes of the principal cells, they have or they display numerous infoldings accordingly. Mm. And they are not plicated. Your what you call this, your principal cells, they are not plicated. But then your principal cells, they possess numerous aquaporin 2 channels. They possess numerous aquaporin 2 channels. And these aquaporin 2 channels, they are very sensitive to antidiuretic hormone or your arginine vasopressin. Okay, they are very sensitive to your ADH. And yes, since they are sensitive to the action of ADH, they become completely permeable to water, thereby permitting these principal cells to reabsorb water from the ultrafiltrate, thereby concentrating the urine. And yes, please note the site of final urine concentration is the urine. I mean, is the collecting duct. And then there is also your intercalated cells. By the way, your principal cells, they are light cells, lighter cells, while your intercalated cells, they are dark cells. And yes, they display numerous apical vesicles for your intercalated cells. Okay, they display numerous apical vesicles of 550 to 200 nanometers in diameter. Microplicae, these are present on the apical plasma membrane, and there is also an abundant mitochondria. The cells of your collecting tubules are round and centrally located. I guess that's it for today. Thank you for making this far. Thank you. And yes, we will continue next time. This has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. This is Gael, forever grateful. Thank you, and see you around.